Hi friends, host Eric here, host of Talking Fast People with Yaylor and Pepsi and Chloe. I'd like to talk a little bit about this phenomenon that's been occurring to me lately, which is facing a lot of opposition or hostility, and it's basically based on my claim that I fixed what's broken with cognitive function models. Now, the thing is, granted, I'm sure I didn't do a very good job of swaddling that claim in FE humility or something, but I was a little surprised, genuinely surprised, that so few people responded to it on its merits, and so many responded to it on its assumed presumption. Now, the point of it is, though, my central point is not that I've fixed those models, although I make that claim. My central point is that this model is a good description of things, and it doesn't matter the extent to which it agrees or disagrees with those other things. Because I'm not trying to disprove those other things. I don't even know what all the specifics of them are, necessarily. And I'm not trying to prove that I have some sort of authorship credit of the new framing of things, although I do. I'm just trying to say, hey, doesn't this make a lot more sense? And the extent to which FE shit is determinate can sometimes surprise me because, of course, I tend to prioritize TI over FE, at least in the moment. So, I don't know what I want to say about that exactly, except everybody just needs to get over it. I mean, it's like, so
You
what?
assume that the only fault is with the FE.
Plus, I haven't heard any TI critiques. I've heard no adequate TI critiques. Not
Okay,
one.
well, your definitions don't line up because you don't define anything. You can't use a dictionary definition to address a conceptual model definition when they're different and say that
I
you
know
fixed
that
the problem with the
that
yen
was
by
my
putting more dollars in the economy.
but that was my argument. Okay, I'm the one who said specifically that I can't just that one can't just do that shit. You know, like what you're saying. But that's not
Well,
what I'm doing. My definitions are, in fact, uh, as solidly interlinked and mutually supportive in terms of consistency with both axiomatic principles and with an internal consistency, more so than the other approaches that I've seen for sure. It's not like I'm avoiding the term of art. Somebody did that to me in a comment. They defined a term of art in terms of the colloquial definition, ignoring its literal meaning, and then tried to argue me on that point. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm definitely not doing that.
I sort of lost attention after at that point. There's two things that problem, but I kind of lost attention before that because you're having an FE problem and you're frustrated that you have to use FE. You're frustrated that people aren't getting your TI, but the whole problem is really an FE problem.
Okay, well, I'm not exactly expressing frustration so much as I'm expressing surprise.
You're right. You were earlier.
The word I used was surprise, though, not frustration.
Okay, I mean it's semantics. It doesn't really matter. The point's the same.
Well, I mean, it's not the same. In the former, where I'm talking about
Okay,
frustration, I'm trying to blame people for their behavior. In the latter, I'm trying to use the behavior as an opportunity for people to note
I mean either one works. I don't
metacognitively,
think that this.
you know, I mean, people need to understand that, right? It's like, okay, oh, hey, I'm one of those people who was guilty of watching that video and ignoring the fact that it was extremely corrective to misconceptions, and instead focused on the fact that Eric was aware of that and saying it out loud. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying that's an area for you to grow in, because this isn't about ego for me. It's a desperate and real offense at the suggestion that it might be.
So what's it about for you if you figured this thing out, but what? You ultimately, it would appear to me that you ultimately are not going to be satisfied as long as it's not accepted, but you refuse to lube it up.
Thing is,
So you're giving
this is why
people
it was
way more
surprising to
credit
me.
than they deserve
This is
for
why it was
being
surprising.
detachedly logical.
I'd said it a million times before and not gotten any of those kind of reactions. Only because it was in the title. Or maybe
Well,
because
you
of my
chopped out for a
delivery.
second.
I said I've said those things a million times before. It's not like I came in
Hmm.
totally cold and said, here's some fucking big claim that's based on no build up or anything. And it's not like I'm making any different claims than I made before. It's just that by the simple fact of framing them as being different than and more correct than MBTI and Socionics, people freak the fuck out.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
I don't think that's right at all.
all
I
right.
think that you're underestimating the. You're. I mean, a crowd of people is way fucking different than a bunch of individuals separately. The different thing. I haven't. I've only obviously only been here for this one, but I would guess that what was different is that I made the first critique
Of what?
of your FE. I made a critique. Nobody had critiqued anything until I brought up the FE. Then it kind of snowballed, and I lost attention.
I mean, people have been critiquing all along, in the comments at least. I haven't necessarily been in the room a lot to engage the critiques. Like, casual INTP's been coming at me in the comments with his normal fucking dissembling bullshit that is totally non-responsive and yet attempts to delegitimize what I'm saying anyway. Um, and fucking Barry pulled some bullshit. INTPs really don't like it, right?
It's not accurate.
It's not accurate.
Yes.
INTPs are more skeptical.
Okay, but if their skepticism defies evidence and logic, then it's not skepticism, it's blind faith.
Hey, Eric, you said that this was nothing new, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, the idea is not new. I've expressed it many times
Yeah,
before.
but then you said you framed it differently. So you have kind of redone it.
Well,
Then you
no, what
haven't
I
really
said was
said it
that
before.
I, I framed it carefully. I took the time to write it all
No,
out.
no. You
I mean,
said there was a change. You said you reframed it.
what part of it did I reframe?
The thing you were claiming to have said before.
About TE being subjective and objective?
For example,
Not reframed. No, that was my position for a while now.
why did you say that then?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what I was referring to, but it may have been something very small in scope, or it may have been I reframed it by taking a more serious case building approach to it. I'm not sure what I meant. I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay.
So, as a comparison, if you walk into, I can't think of anything more intense than a group of MBTI nerds. If you walk into a video chat room full of MBTI nerds and say, "Hey, all you fuckers, I fixed it and I'm moody, so listen to me and stop listening to my tone of voice. Why are you getting hung up on that? I'm right, blah, blah, blah." You're basically drawing a big fucking target on yourself because we're NTPs, dude.
I know you are. I know you all are. And that's one of the reasons why I feel so positive about this thing. All these fucking NTPs, not one single responsive critique to the points of the case. Not one.
You have a short memory, Eric.
Your necessary but insufficient burdens point, Susie, is not a legitimate critique.
By your definitions, which you make up however it fits you in the moment.
No, Susie, because if we were all subject to infinite necessary but insufficient burdens before we could begin adjudicating a point, nothing would ever meet your criteria for being able to begin to be adjudicated. And the fact that I said it was completed, was ready to be adjudicated, means that you could dismantle a thing and prove it, negate it successfully, without any further tools at your disposal. Okay, it was ready to be negated fully at that moment.
No, it was not.
It continues to be ready to be negated. And you are not negating, you are postponing the negation thereof when you are assigning necessary but insufficient burdens that are themselves totally unwarranted.
Oh my god,
Okay.
you're so unquiet,
Suze,
dude.
will
Holy
you,
shit.
Suze, do you know, what is your specific objection? Do you recall?
She doesn't have one.
There were plenty.
Okay,
I
only got
picked
to
the
one.
pieces and I didn't like it.
Okay, I didn't like it, Susie. Is that the best you can do? So far, I've
Do we
heard
have to fight?
critiques that are off case, and I've heard you didn't like it.
No, you were the one dancing around the case.
That is absolutely not true, Susie. Your
That is
critiques
so
were
true. Go
off
back and
case.
watch the recording.
Your critiques were non-responsive. I explained how each of them was. A necessary but insufficient
Responsive
burdens
to-
critique is not only non-responsive, it's abusive.
No. I was
Yeah.
not abusive towards you.
Okay,
at
well then
all.
do I have to prove I'm alive before we can begin arguing about my points?
That's not the thing we're discussing.
Well, how many necessary but insufficient burdens do I have to meet before we can begin discussing my points?
What are your
Are
points?
there a limit of them? I gave you a document articulating them all.
Yes.
What are your definitions?
I gave you a not you necessarily, but I gave a document articulating them all.
Not the that.
There's a video that
If you can't
says
explain
each cognitive function defined. I've read it
But if you
earlier
know
this
it,
afternoon
you
out
know
loud.
it so well.
What?
If you know it so well, you should be able to explain it.
Okay, Susie, I can explain it. I will explain it most precisely when I read my written explanation of it out loud to you again.
Then you're just reading it up.
Okay, so Susie, are only verbal explanations adequate for your analysis?
No, but we were talking.
Eric, how much of the thinking and investigating for themselves do you think that people should do? Have you looked at metrics of what people click on YouTube? People want 2-minute chunks of simple shit to answer a specific question. They don't want to go here. Here's my thesis.
But listen, I'm dealing with INTPs who are dismissing the legitimacy of my claims without actually responding to my claims. That's the problem.
We did that before when I was looking at your document. I just happened to not do that right now.
In what way were you responsive to my claims earlier?
I was reading from your document.
I know, but your criticisms weren't responsive to anything specific to the document. It's called off-case
Subjective
arguing.
and objective are here to find normally and accurately.
It's you weren't listening to anything that was said. And
That's not true because I
if you
respond
heard
to
it,
everything
you're
you say.
disregarding it.
Susie, I'm responsive directly to everything you say, so it's not true that I wasn't listening to you.
No, you were not. You kept
Subjective
dancing,
and objective are here to find normally and accurately.
Right. Keep reading.
Okay. Well, Young okay. These normal definitions are consistent with colloquial usage, typical typology usage. That's wrong. That's just plain out wrong. That's not how Young defines them.
No, it's how people in the typology community use the terms typically. Not regarding TE.
If you're going to change a definition, but say it's the same as Young's.
Okay, again.
Look, if you're going to try to attack Young.
If you're going to I'm not attacking you. I am not attacking you. And I've already addressed all these fucking points.
I don't give a fuck about your tone of voice.
If my definition is inadequate, provide me a superior one.
Well, I didn't make
No.
the Eric model.
Okay.
You provide us with one, or you use the one in the existing establishment that you're trying to attack. But
Okay.
you don't go fill in the blank here with whatever the fuck you want.
No, because objectivity and subjectivity are actual words with precise meanings that exclude other possible meanings.
Right, in the dictionary, but in typology, according to Jung, they're different because
Okay.
he specifies the fucking difference.
Okay.
So you
The
either need
point
to attack him on
is,
his own plane
the
or
point
make your own one.
the point is, if he wants to call a term like introverted, meaning something other than whatever it normally means, then fine, okay. If he wants to call something objective or subjective, though,
He did.
that's great. But then, unfortunately, if he means the word objective, it has a definition that necessarily puts the locus of identity on the object. Okay, that's the minimum amount that can possibly be allowed to still be considered meaningful usage of the word objective. It must be object based, or else it's not objective. Right?
So you're basically fighting a language barrier.
No, Taylor. I'm saying when everybody says that Jung claims that TI is subjective, they understand that sentence to mean that it's subject based. I'm saying that understanding is wrong. That objectivity is object based, and so is TI. Just because it's internal doesn't mean it's limited to the subject. It means it's an internal objective metric because it operates with objects that have defined limits and can be parsed out and exclusionary to one another, as opposed to FI, which does not operate with such objects, as opposed to TE, which does not operate with such objects either. FE and TI do.
I get it. I get what you're doing. That's why I'm telling you what the fuck you're doing wrong. You're taking A. You're taking a definition.
Your critique's reductive and inaccurate. It's as simple as that. Your critique here is reductive and inaccurate.
This is no wonder you don't think anyone's critiquing your shit. You don't think anyone's critiquing your shit because no one finishes a motherfucking critique.
Your critique is that my definition
before you start
is not
shrieking
responsive
again
to Jung's term art. That's your critique, right?
I'm telling you that in equational logic, you can't have a formula if you don't define the variables.
So
you've got two same words that mean two fucking different things.
So what you're saying then?
Don't tell me what I'm saying. I'm not fucking done saying it. What am I saying?
You're saying that my definition is not consistent with the term of art used in the community, right?
I'm saying that you are attacking a formal structure with different variables. They don't fit together. You need to acknowledge the discrepancy.
Okay.
By making your own.
So you're saying then that the term of art is used differently than my definition, right? Yes or no?
You're attacked. It's not as simple as a yes or no question. You can't reduce it down to dumb dick shit and trick me that way. I'm telling you, you're attacking an entire.
Are not in the same units. That's why it doesn't work. You just fucking said.
Hey, dildo! Do you want to know what I just said? Do you want to understand it better? Stop shrieking at me.
Taylor, your words have meaning when you.
So do you want to understand this, or do you want to stroke your FI?
Taylor, what I'm trying to do is be responsive to you, unlike what you're trying to do to me, right? You're trying to be non-responsive. I'm trying to be responsive. That's why I'm trying to clarify.
I'm going to draw you a fucking picture, dude.
Okay, can I quote your exact words and you'll agree you said them?
Yeah, quote them.
Okay, so what you indicated was that because the units are different in the variables, that you can't compare against them. That they don't compare against each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me how they differ.
I'm drawing you a picture.
Don't tell me that they differ and thus it's wrong. Tell me how they differ.
That's what the fuck I was trying to do.
No, I don't think so.
This is my. This is my fucking house. It's a picture of it. It's really good. If my house is made out of wood and I've got some rotten boards, you can't go, here's some fucking stucco for your house.
So
It
what
won't
question
work.
didn't you answer?
You need more wood.
What question didn't you answer?
I'm explaining because you seem to be confused about what I'm trying to fucking tell you.
Right, you're saying
Don't
if they
try to
differ
box
like
me
that,
into a wordplay.
You're saying if they differ like that, then you can't compare. I'm saying
If
how
they
do they
differ, you need to
how do they
fix.
differ? I'm saying how do they differ?
Okay, because objective is defined by Jung as responsive of the outside world. It's based off the response you get from the outside world, not how good you think you logicked it.
So is it responsive?
Subjective is all an internal measure. So subjective and objective remove the opinion of the individual using them completely. You don't even get the freedom to decide if it's objective or not.
Okay, so you
That's
say
how
that,
Jung defines it.
Okay,
That's
okay.
not how the fuck colloquial terms describe it.
Really? Then why is FI not considered subjective by Jung? Or is it? Do you know?
I don't know. I didn't get past the intro
So
on your thing because it was already full of fucking errors.
I'm asking about Jung, not about my thing. That's about Jung, since you're the expert, right?
I haven't gotten all through all Jung's.
Oh, but you just got
I know enough to know a contradiction when I see one.
Okay, so you know my definition.
I can figure out that shit. It's right on the front page of Wikipedia.
Hold on, I got questions. You made statements. Now you got to live with the consequences. Okay.
Okay.
So, you read enough Jung just to know that my definition is inconsistent with his in a way that makes the units incomparable, right?
I read enough to know that you have a big enough break in consistency here that is probably not a solid foundation for the other shit. Then I went on living my life, and I came back here and heard you bitching because you're confused about some shit, and I thought I'd put you out of your misery. Okay, apparently, Taylor, you're not confused. You're just frustrated. That was the right fucking word, wasn't it?
You don't know because I've made a lot of content about this that you haven't watched at all, okay? And that's fine. I'm saying
so. Does it all fall into place?
But, Taylor,
am I wrong completely?
Taylor, what I'm telling you is my model is more internally consistent, more consistent with external axioms than models that differ from it, to the extent those models differ, because mine is more correct. So I'm telling you.
I've heard you saying that. Yeah.
I don't care.
Are you saying that I'm wrong?
I do not care.
Are you saying,
am I wrong? It's not a fucking critique of you. I don't care if it's consistent with or differs from fucking you or anybody else. That's not my fucking claim. I made that claim because Mega Bro said you are inconsistent with what Jung says about whether these are objective or subjective. Was I using Jung's term of art when I called them objective or subjective? No, but that didn't prevent me from being critiqued on a specific term of art that, according to you, violates every principle of what those words actually mean in any conventional usage. So that's not my problem. I'm not forced to defend. I'm not forced to defend how I differ from Jung. I'm forced to defend the rightness of the model.
Well, I didn't bring the comparison in here with me, did I?
I didn't bring the comparison in either, but to the extent that we differ substantively on the issue, then he is wrong. If we only differ semantically, then it's irrelevant. If he predicates nothing further on objectivity and subjectivity, then it's not a meaningful term in a taxonomy anyway. It is in mine.
Is it meaningful?
In mine, yes. I don't know his. I'm not trying to contrast against it.
Well, I must have misunderstood your video labels. That's probably my bad for not TIing all the way through your hours and hours and hours of shit before addressing your fucking question.
I've explained it a million fucking times before.
You should put little disclaimers when you come in the room that say, Please critique my theory, but only if you've watched all my other videos.
No, please critique my theory, not stuff it doesn't say.
It's in the fucking title, dude!
Of what?
One of your videos.
My video is not my taxonomy.
Sociologists and MBTI are wrong.
My video is not my taxonomy, and that was, and it says in the fucking description, it's responsive to Megaro's claim to the contrary.
Okay. Do with it what you will. It's not my problem, ultimately. I'm not the one getting butthurt for days about it.
Taylor, I'm not butthurt. I am winning every fucking point. People don't like it.
But you're losing at effectiveness completely.
Okay.
You are completely flailing at your adoption rates.
Projection has reached an all-time high because regardless of...
I'm not trying to sell you on my model.
I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I am presenting for your consumption the correct model. If people want to say it's not correct...
Then why do you give a fuck if people like it or not?
I don't. I care that people are making specious fucking arguments instead of addressing it responsibly. I care about the bad discourse.
Okay, well, since it doesn't matter, but if you want critiques, you should recognize that I'm critiquing something here,
but you're not,
and I'm not the only one who's noticed it, and it's probably not just my own craziness out in space.
You're not critiquing what the taxonomy says. You're critiquing a claim that Mega Bro said that I responded to. It's not part of the taxonomy that it differs from you. That's just sort of how people seem to want to frame it in terms of whether it's similar to you or MBTI or whatever else. My point is, it takes from all of those.
You should have told me up front then that you should have told me up front I was critiquing the wrong thing. If this is not part of the thing that's up for debate, why the fuck didn't you tell me? Why did we waste all this time?
Taylor, it says it right here. I will read it to you.
What the fuck are you reading it off of? Do you think that everyone reads all of your shit before they form an opinion?
No,
How long do you think that you get for people to make an opinion?
Earlier today as well. It's on videos and it's in the document, and I read it out loud to the Raw channel.
So fucking what? Who listens to someone droning through something at twice normal speaking speed?
If there is no way that I can meet the standard for adequate behavior on your, but if you're just going to continually move the goalpost, then obviously I'm never going to meet that standard.
How hard is it to not come in like a pissed off teenager going, okay, I figured this out. Here's the shit here. It's good. It's better. And I got to read this shit to you, dumbass, blah, 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 blah. You're not interested in your shit. Do you have no idea how simple presentations work?
Yeah, well, that's, again, shifting to irrelevant ground.
Literally just the fucking question you asked me. God damn it, my phone's about to die. You literally just asked me if you can't present anything right. And I said, you gotta fucking present something like you give a shit about it or even look like you think you're right.
I meant if I can't answer any of your questions and meet the standards that you assign without you assigning new standards, in other words, moving the goalposts, then I'm never going to meet your standards. That's what I said.
I'm not moving the goalpost. There's a lot of fucking misfires that you had.
Yeah, well, you are moving the goalpost.
And you can't correct one without tripping into the next one.
Okay, but Taylor...
Half of them are presentation related because you don't seem to recognize that you are ultimately...
If you don't think you're moving the goalpost, that costs you credibility.
Okay.
You definitely are.
Eric, you are presenting something to people, and your problem is that you can't figure out why people don't like it. I'm saying you got this and this and this.
That's not my problem.
It ultimately is.
No,
yes, it is. Not. Then you have a problem identification problem.
Frankly, I feel energized by the negative response because I know the case wins the argument chains. I've faced shitloads of arguments, and people can't even find good arguments to make on the flow. They're making off-case arguments consistently. So, I mean, I know how this plays out as argumentation. It works.
Okay, so as argumentation, does it work to say that's not a good argument and then mandate it be so?
I don't know.
If you say it enough times or if you say it loud enough, does it make it true?
I mean, if I just make the claim, of course not. But what I do is I explain why that's the case, and in a perfectly
Right, and and how you're explaining it is by referring me to the other sections.
No, if I say to you,
if it doesn't stand up without its support,
Taylor,
it's probably not very sturdy.
Taylor,
what?
What I critiqued you on there was you weren't critiquing the ideas in the taxonomy. You were critiquing the claim relating it to you, right? So I'm saying that's an off-case critique. In other words, it's not responsive to my actual case. It's saying what my case doesn't do, or it's comparing it to something that's not it.
No,
saying
no, that's not true at all. Because the way the things interact are very fundamentally tied to what the fuck they are.
Okay, well, I define everything really carefully, and I made videos about it, and it's in the document. I'm sorry if I haven't read it to you tonight, but it's nevertheless there. Including the mechanical relationships, yes.
Could you? Okay, well, then I was thrown off by this section right at the beginning of the one document I do have that says subjective and objective are defined normally.
Right, because it's responsive to people's
very first sentence.
I'm making a point that I'm not using a special term of art there because last time when I used a special term of art, I got critiqued for that. That's why I put that there. It's responsive to a previous critique and comments that was a bullshit critique of my choice of a term of art that was appropriate, but I agreed was not consistent with the colloquial definition. This time I chose one that's consistent with both. Now, if it's not consistent with Hume's, so be it, but it's consistent with how people in the typology community normally use the term objective and subjective. So people everywhere use the term normally. They mean, is it something that can be factually verified externally or not?
Which is a better definition, but I know that you hate professionalism and anything like that, but you got to recognize that if you're trying to change something that's,
The definition I just said.
I think the normal definition is better.
The definition I just said is a fine definition too.
The normal definition, the one that you use.
Okay, well, I just said one. Do you want that one or the one that's written in the document?
Are they both yours?
Yeah.
Are they the same?
Yes, they functionally say the same thing. Yes, they're consistent with each other and they explain the same mechanism either way. It's the fact that something is either verifiable in the object or it's not, right? That's what makes something objective or subjective. It's not verifiable in the object, it's only verifiable in the subject. That's subjective. That's what those words mean. That's what people mean when they use those words.
So this taxonomy that I haven't read is better than MBTI or socionics, but it's not at all related to them. And it's silly to take it in context with them. Is that correct?
I'm saying to the extent that it differs from them substantively, it is more correct because it is correct. It's the best abstract representation that I've come across, and I haven't come across it outside of my own creating it. It's not my first attempt at a taxonomy. My first one failed. This one is successful because it's right.
Okay, so here's an open-ended question, not like that fucking bullshit you were trying. So you're saying, not that fucking shit. Here's an open-ended question for your dumbass. What is the proper context for the mildly educated reader to read your taxonomy in?
Well, as I indicate in the preface, it is a book that is designed to appeal to two types of readers. One, the skeptical or angry NTP, who comes at it with feeling very challenged because it makes bold claims unapologetically. Now, number two, the other audience is your regular MBTI user named Jenny, who's just an ENFP who recently discovered typing, And so am I going to be able to successfully appeal to both sides of the coin? I hope so. I'm making a concerted effort to make things as comprehensible and straightforward as possible, to minimize the use of big words, and to keep short sentences short. I'm doing everything I can in order to maximize simplicity while also including parts that allow a fully opened up and aired out level of complexity. So some sections are super fancy talk, but it's sort of like that's sort of like sectioned off. Like, watch out, fancy talk coming up.
I guess the problem isn't so much that you use big words. The problem is, are you really trying to write a book one chapter at a time in front of a live audience that's totally shifting, and then asking for input and being surprised when you have to recover turf or when shit doesn't sync up with the other shit you did the other time?
Again, this has nothing to do with anything in regards to my frustration, except people making bad, specious arguments that aren't responsive and thinking that they've successfully accomplished something on the flow. It's fine if there's nothing being
Well, I'm trying to figure out where the fucking lapse is. You're sitting here swearing up and down that this thing I don't know all of is perfect, and I'm saying, what the fuck is the problem then? Because nobody else has noticed your perfection.
Well, my point is nobody's responded to any of it either.
Well, maybe it's because your delivery sucks.
Okay, well, we're back to that. That's fine. I accept that conclusion. I'm not disputing it.
Okay, then do you think it's something that you should address?
Well, I don't know, but
do you think it's a critique worth listening to?
I mean,
it is the point.
It's a separate issue.
It's an issue. It's your issue, and it's inhibiting the first one from even mattering at all. It doesn't matter if your shit's perfect if nobody's going to listen to it in the first place.
Changing my behavior may be a good means of addressing someone else's wrongness, but when I'm pointing out someone else's wrongness, then that issue needs to be adjudicated first and separately before we take up that other issue.
What?
Okay, so my wrongness is apparently I'm wrong because I don't understand it. I will accept that because I haven't read it, just like I said at the beginning. So this whole argument probably would have been not even necessary.
If what?
If you'd said, hey, the rest of my shit explains this. Or if you had like even the slightest touch of finesse or anything, delivery, I don't know what the fuck you want to call it. Something besides being a pissed off teenager who just got done with his homework.
Look, here's the thing though, you guys, and I'm fucking completely serious about this. Everyone's interpreting me as a pissed off teenager. My kind of like bewilderment is genuine. I am used to operating in a world where people present cases and debate, and their tone doesn't matter at all, and everyone actually responds to the arguments that are being made. And if they try not to...
You have not been very responsive.
If they try not to,
okay,
then people critique, people say, why are you giving me necessary sufficient burdens? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Because people understand what counts as being responsive or not. So I do feel a little bewildered that my thing that I'm presenting as a set of arguments is not being responded to as a set of arguments, but that I, as a presenter, am being responded to in terms of my display or in terms of my presentation. Because the presentation is...
You have a very short memory.
Susie, if you're going to... Okay, how... Falsify what I just said then. If that's your implication, falsify it directly.
Oh, like you say, we have to read your arguments. You have to go back and watch my raw footage of my arguments.
I mean, I remember them all to the best of my ability. I know that in the real-time moment, each of the arguments you made was specious and dismissed. For example, the first thing you did was misquote me multiple times. Yeah, you did. You said, I was reworking Jung's work, but I never said that, did I? What were the words I used instead?
You said this. That's a copy-paste from your document.
Yeah, you've made the comparison a lot of times. Since I've been thinking about it, I've heard you say it several times. I didn't just read it in the title of a video.
It reworks Jung's basic concept.
Which you're not using. Well, it depends what fits your arguments best in the moment.
Yeah, Susie, but see, that's not the case. I continue to make the same arguments, and they continue to be getting different responses because one response doesn't work, or the other response doesn't work.
You need to plant your feet on something. You're not even planting your feet on definitions. You need to have a stance. If you're presenting something...
I defined the fuck out everything. I got critiqued the other day for my definition being too complicated.
I was taking pieces of your document and reading it up to you and asking questions, and instead of responding to that, you just kept reading about something else, bringing up other documents.
I responded, Susie. Listen, if you think I was
That's not the
non-responsive,
response.
ask me a question now. I can respond to it immediately, as I did every single time you asked me a question. If you don't like the answer, that doesn't mean I didn't respond to it. If the answer is non-responsive, it means I didn't respond to it.
Talking
But if
about
you
something
don't like the answer, that doesn't mean
response.
it's non-responsive.
Talking
That
about
was
something
kind of dismissive on its own. Eric,
Give me a
I'm gonna be
question.
nice to you, man. I got. Look. Let me tell you this. I wish that I had the cognitive abilities that these NTs do, or maybe even just the knowledge of MBTI to call you out on your shit. Because something doesn't seem right, man. It just doesn't.
What?
I can't explain it. It's just not even. It's not even just on an FE level, dude. It's like I don't know what it is.
Are you critiquing the TI? Are you critiquing
I don't know.
the fact that
I'm telling
He
you,
doesn't know. That's what he's saying.
No, you're just belittling
I don't
him.
know.
Here, okay. Here's
It
what.
looks like he's
Let-
digging himself out of a hole. That's what it looks like.
me?
I think that what they're describing, and it could be wrong, but my best interpretation. No, what Abe is trying to describe, I think, you seem defensive of it before you came in. You might not be, but however, your mood played off as if you're defensive of it, and you started defending it before it started getting attacked. Then when it did start getting attacked, you were ready to go.
Well, sure. It's a case.
If it undermines your own confidence in your shit.
I mean,
Sometimes somebody's got to tell you it's not about being right. It's not even about that. It's not even about winning the argument.
Abe. Okay.
What?
Yes, I come in ready to do battle over these ideas. Why? Because I take them seriously enough to go to battle with them. Naturally, if I am serious about my ideas, I'm going to go into battle and fight with them so that they can get wounded by better ideas. Now, thus far, they haven't gotten even. Nobody's stepped on the same field with a sword. Everyone's
Then
fought around
how
the perimeter
come
of
you're
it.
not able to get your point across? If your points are so good, why are you not getting them across to anyone?
I'm not interested in. Okay, again, what I'm critiquing here is not your failure to learn, which you seem to be thinking I'm critiquing. I'm not critiquing that. I don't know. I don't care. I have no possession of your internal processes, whether you've learned or not. I don't know. But what I do know
That's not what
is
I'm
that
saying.
what I do know is that that's not necessary for me to affirm. My arguments need to remain standing after the battle in order for me to affirm. Now, here's the thing. I'm trying to make sure that my arguments get a fair testing by doing battle, but nobody's addressing them.
Why do you want to battle in the first place? We could have
I
a normal
don't. I
discussion.
take my ideas seriously. Therefore, they must go into battle in order to be tested, right? All good ideas go into
That's the problem.
discursive clash.
That thing you were doing was not
Hey,
battle.
that's the thing that's off. Is ENTPs don't take ideas personally. They don't take them seriously. They're very detached. So why are you wrapped up in it? That's what probably feels off.
Because, okay, I take the case seriously, right? I make cases for debate a lot. I don't believe necessarily in what the case argues all the time, but if I believe I've done an excellent job on a case, I take that case very seriously. I say, yes, this is pretty airtight. I've got all the argumentation chains locked down. It's the right kind of table with multiple legs, each supporting each other, blah, 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 the whole way that things work. What I'm saying is, I made a kick-ass case here. And it's a kick-ass case that better explains for everyone the things they currently explain with, I believe, a less correct set of terms and mechanisms and stuff, right? Regardless of how it's similar or different from, it uses different terminology. At the very least, I believe the terminology that is used and defined very carefully within taxonomy is preferable because it's more accurate, more consistent with colloquial usage, requires fewer terms of art, and it's less obtuse.
Okay, but then you have
So-
to accept that people will disagree with you.
I mean,
Okay, fine.
well, hold on. Then, yeah, but colloquial usage, if we apply that to learning mechanisms, how did you learn about the functions? You probably pulled up on the internet a table with some very brief definitions. You saw how they all work together. You got it conceptually, and then you took it from there. You need to present something like that up front instead of giving us a whole chunk about INTPs, for instance.
Well, I mean,
Is that the problem? That nobody actually gets the big picture?
I mean, I'm writing the book as I feel like writing things. One of the effects of
Okay,
Megaprose,
well,
Megaprose caused me to put down on paper the whole TE subjectivity objectivity thing because I was upset because he was neither winning nor acknowledging his wrongness. So, I meant that to hammer the fucking point home. You know, it's like you can't win this argument. Now, Taylor, you had the best response of anybody actually to it, which was, okay, well, Jung's using a term of art, so you can't say he's wrong. Fine, he's not wrong then. Maybe he used that term of art in a way to avoid the fact that in the normal definitions of objective and subjective, TE is definitely subjective. And if that's the case, then fine, he successfully avoided it, and good for him. I don't give a fuck. I'm not trying to beat Jung.
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with your case either.
Exactly.
And you're trying to beat it through, but you're failing because nobody's agreeing to it.
I mean, no, because all the arguments remain standing, so for the duration of that status quo,
I mean,
they're standing. But, you know, I do feel as though it deserves more of a test, but obviously people want to see it maybe in more of its complete form so they can sit back and assess it a bit or whatever. I don't know. For whatever reason, people...
Stands.
No, Susie, will you stop making those bullshit personal attacks? I'm making legitimate arguments all the time. They're not getting answered, and I'm accused of dancing. I mean, the people who are dancing are those who are avoiding the bullets flying at their fucking feet.
okay. Well, then, since I haven't read it and since I don't know it, I can't really critique it. But I will say that I can't conceptualize anything at all to have any opinion on it if I can't conceptualize it.
Okay, well, if you look at the document, I bet you'd be able to understand it.
No.
What?
I mean,
Hello,
the part that's done.
Some bullshit.
The part that's done, anyway.
Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance. Cat, I'm a kitty cat, and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance.
Why is he posting bullshit?
I'm a kitty cat.
Well, that was disconcertingly abrasive. Good night.